Okay, guys, warmly welcome for this important training, Fire Watch, and we'll collaborate one more topic, the standby man. And why I'm telling this is kind of an important training. The reason is you guys are the foundation on any sort of project where we are performing hot work processes actually. So since we all know, if we have an hot work, of course, the chances of ignition sources are very high. The probability is also little bit sensitive, especially to that areas. So in such a scenario, we truly have to train our fire watches to avoid from any sort of incidents or accidents, because fire means can destroy everything in minutes, right? And mostly if the project belongs to the confined space, then we have to be more careful because it's hard to get second chance, especially in the confined spaces. So before we move on, I have a very straightforward but simple question to all of you, since you guys are looking as an experienced professional. So as per your experience or understanding, what do you think, what are the real root causes of fire accidents or incidents, or even injuries or near misses, related to fire, as per your understanding? Is there any possibility that you can speak up, or otherwise we can move on with some pictorial discussions, or I need might be your some kind of your feedback against different kind of discussions, because what I am observing, you just have a single classroom with one laptop with projector, of course, but who will respond? Is there any mic attached with your system that you can talk to me? अब बात कर सकते हैं या नहीं कर सकते? माइक अटैच है आपके पीसी के साथ? If it is not, then we can move on, but remember, such kind of bad practice is not acceptable, because these are the terrible root causes of different kind of incidents. Okay, guys, warmly welcome again for this important training session, the Fire Watch. And since the fire incidents are still happening globally and everywhere, but that is why, like a doctor, we truly need to diagnose why fire incidents are still happening. What are the real root causes? Either we are smoking in non-designated areas, either we are not taking care of hot work activities and not taking any preventive measures or kind of proactive approach we are not following in, or we have some unsafe acts which are creating because of human tendency, or there are some shortcuts unavoidable because of company pressures or customer pressures or because of human nature as well. So why these fire incidents are still happening? So let's diagnose the real causes and then we will go with the solutions also. So look at the picture, because one picture is more louder than 1,000 words. So if that kind of practice is there, look at the extension boards and with a lot of switches on it. But on the other side, it's not like only within the company, even at your residence, within your company accommodation, this issue you will find in several places. But now things are getting changed. If you're working with Saudi Aramco, and Sindan itself is a huge, big brand, so you can understand why these things are not acceptable actually. because one terrible incident can destroy the overall goodwill of the business. Like look at this picture also. That means poor set and order, poor shop floor management, or poor housekeeping, or such kind of mindset like blocking fire exits or smoking in non-designated areas, or not avoiding oil spillage, or even poor maintenance of different kind of machines, or not using some sort of safety guards even, which can possibly be created ignition sources if in line with anything, because friction of anything can create heat, and heat means a source of ignition, of course. So in that scenario, make sure your employees, they are not acting or having some unsafe acts, especially the moment you are having hot work projects or hot work, especially in confined spaces. You have to be very much careful. And when you are using compressed gas cylinders, or I call them tickling bomb, because any silly act or kind of sudden disruption. Let me share one story with all of you. One of the company, they were manufacturer of this compressed gas cylinders, the empty one, not the filled one, only the empty one. And one of the gentlemen, like their engineer from the research and development, he mentioned, why don't we add one process like filling process, and we will sell the filled cylinders instead of empty cylinders, and our budget, our revenue bottom line will go up, and we'll make a lot of money. The top management and the businessmen or the shareholders, definitely they love the ideas where they believe they'll get a lot of benefit in terms of money especially. So they accepted that idea, and the moment they started filling process, on one day just one cylinder fell down. Just one cylinder, the failed one, fell down because it was under open air, no shady area was there. And up to 3 kilometers, all the filled cylinders were just shooted up like a bullet. That is why I call them is kind of a tickling bomb. If you don't give importance, especially if you have hot work nearby. Let's take an example. If someone is doing abrasive blasting or kind of sand blasting, or someone is doing welding in a confined space, and on the other side, you have one company doing painting. So the both scientists have to be familiar what is going in the air and how things will be out of control the moment fire triangle or kind of chemical reactions will be there. So I hope you got the point. Whenever we are not avoiding or not keeping this triangle, especially the heat, oxygen, and fuel, not keeping them away from each other or not managing them effectively, the more chances of fire incidents will be there. The probability will go up. Even let's take one small parameter, one small indicator. If you ignore housekeeping within your company or within your projects, so the probability of different kind of incidents or accidents will go up, because it's a foundational critical factor ensuring proper housekeeping and using everything in a standardized pattern actually. Now I have a question. As per your understanding, how would you elaborate what is fire? So several people, they're going to say fire means anything which burns. Fire means it's a reaction of different elements meeting together. But for easy note, of course, we can remember it's a combination of oxygen, heat, and fuel. Now, the standard says, if you want to fight with fire or you want to prevent with fire, from fire, you need to keep this triangle broken all the time. Or if it is meeting together, make sure the things are still under control, because sometimes it's unavoidable. Like we have electrical systems installations, unavoidable. We have to use certain chemicals within our processes, again, unavoidable. And oxygen is everywhere, which is a part of nature. So there are square chances, of meeting oxygen, heat, and fuel, and through the chemical reaction. Even a small chemical reaction, especially in refineries or gas oil separation plants, or even oil rig sites, or high hazardous companies like pharmaceutical, paper industry, they are more in danger, because a small terrible mistake, everything will be finished actually. And one fire incident, even your brand goodwill will go down, God forbid, and no more better goodwill in the market. Of course, no more projects. That is why Sendan as a brand, why they are so much successful, because continually they are working on safety systems to improve. Every day they are trying their level best to improve, to show to the customer, look, we are responsible brand, we are responsible company. We have a fire prevention system, we have fire protection system, we have firefighting system, we have emergency response system. So customers truly need all these things, especially from the contractor side. And that is why it's their commitment. You are here to get this training, or might be a refresh training. Now, if we want to fight with fire and we want to remove or eliminate fire, one of the element we need to remove, either oxygen, heat, or fuel. And every time, sometime it would be easy for us to remove oxygen, sometimes the heat, sometimes the fuel itself. But somehow we need to break that triangle. Surely we have to break that triangle if we really want to remove the fire. Now, I was supposed to ask any one of you, which one is more easier to remove? Which one is more easier to eliminate? If it's unable to give the answer, at least start thinking. And might be few of you will think, oh, oxygen is more easy to fight with, or it's quite easy to remove heat, or might be the fuel itself. And if fire is there and uncontrolled, then you have to follow the word we call race, because your safety must be your top priority. Either you are a fire watcher, you are a firefighter, you are a fire warden, fire marshal, whatever designation you have for that particular project. Race is a word whenever you see things are not your control. So just leave and go to the muster point and follow this race. That means rescue yourself. Don't put yourself in trouble. Alarm, if you are authorized for, you are trained for, contained or extinguish. Either you can contain a fire in a specific area. If it's not possible, then extinguish that fire. And I hope in Sindan, everybody from janitor to general manager, everybody knows how to use, how to operate fire extinguisher. But just as a formality, I would mention the word pass, which you need to remember. Pull the pin. Even one picture is more louder than words. Look at the picture. The first step is pull the pin. And the second step is aim the extinguisher's hose or the nozzle at the bottom of the fire. And then S means squeeze the handle, and S means sweep. It's slowly back and forth, covering the entire fire extinguisher substance. So we can follow two words, race and pass. But by using pass, two more important factors which we surely have to bear in our mind. Number one is the wind direction. While you are going to use fire extinguisher to extinguish a fire, the wind direction is so much critical to be familiar with. You have to be familiar what is the wind direction. That is why we have windsock. If windsock is not available, Sometimes you throw sand in the air and you find out what is the wind direction. Someone have handkerchief or maybe the tissue paper. You just need to find out what is the wind direction. And then the second element, second important factor is how far you have to stand before you use extinguisher, because of course your safety must be your first single most top priority before you help anyone else. So make sure you have, at least 1 meter to 2.5 meter distance, but make sure that distance is still the safest one, because it depends on the magnitude of the fire also, how big the fire is. Accordingly, you have to decide your exact position before you use extinguisher, but don't ignore the wind direction for sure. And we can't fight with fire, even as a fire watcher or as a firefighter, or even as a fire warden. It's hard to support until we understand the classification of fire. And I'll discuss mostly the 4 classes. Even the 5th one is there, which is relevant to cooking media, but at least 4 must be understood by all of us. Like class A is all about the fire relevant to wood, paper, cloth, rubber, some other plastics. And class B is all about gasoline, paint, propane, or kerosene. Class C is electrical appliances or kind of electrical equipment. And D is all about metals. For a little bit more elaboration, we can understand different types of extinguishers are there. If we understood the types of or classes of fire, accordingly we have to decide which extinguisher will be more beneficial for us, more effective to fight with the fire. So different type of extinguishers are available in the market, but mostly you will find ABC powder and carbon dioxide and AFF foam, even water sometime, but mostly you will see carbon dioxide and ABC powder or the foam, etc. So even this chart is quite highlighting, like water can be used for type A, carbon dioxide can be used for B and electrical appliances, and also ABC powder can be used, and you will see mostly ABC powder displayed mostly in companies, because it is kind of a multi-purpose, can be used for A, B, C, or wet chemical, which can be used for A and F as well, like cooking media as well. For more better understanding, look at the image first. That's called class A. That means fire involving ordinary combustible materials such as paper, wood, and cloth, which we already discussed. And B is all about flammable liquids or gases. C is energized electrical equipment or electrical oven fire, etc., or even short circuit at the machine or overloaded electrical cables. But class D is all about the metals, can be lithium or magnesium or potassium, sodium, titanium, or zirconium. But K class is fire involving cooking oil and fats. Now Aramco have permitted at some of the project, like along with your project, you can have your residence as well. That means residence means people will hard to avoid, to have a kitchen actually for cooking media or using some equipment for cooking their food. So in that scenario, the oil is there. So any fire involving cooking oils or fats, you can consider class K. Previously, they were not allowing, near to the project, any sort of residential compounds. Now, how are we going to fight with this fire? If water you are using, remember again, you can use it for class A, because it will help to reduce the heat and fire, and no sufficient heat, no fire. We can use dry chemical for class A, B, and C. No doubt it disturbs the chemical reaction in a fire, thus the fire cannot sustain actually. In the meantime, carbon dioxide, which I told you is a multi-purpose, can be used for, B and C, same like dry chemical, displacing oxygen, no fire, not preferred to use in electronic equipments. We can have foam, AFFF, like class B, oil fire, class A, form a layer of foam on oil surface. So oxygen air is restricted, rich fuel. So that's also an option for us. And dry powder can be used for class D, that means the metals, and wet chemical for class K and A. Now let's talk about your major responsibilities as a fire watcher. And that is the most important slide for all of you, because since you are going to be responsible as a fire watcher on different projects. So remember your 6 top important responsibilities. One is you are responsible to watch out. You have to be the keen observer. You must have, sometimes I say, like eagle eyes to observe immediately any sort of fire hazard in the workplace while work is performed by the other employees. And also you are responsible to maintain the conditions actually. That means the safest conditions, you are the one going to maintain. Even though not everything is being done from your side, of course, you will be guiding to others and they'll be performing the way it should be as per the hot work rules actually. And requirements stated on the safety permit and your name, your ID proactively decided between WPR and WPI. That means work permit receiver and work permit issuer from Saudi Aramco side. Your name and ID is already agreed. That means officially, legally, now you are responsible to ensure there isn't any chance of fire, because all the time you are there. Even after the job is done, still 30 minutes you stay there because the surface is having some sway heating still, So keep flammable materials away from ignition sources. That is another major important responsibility. You will not let them keep any flammable material near to any sort of ignition sources, especially when the hot work is going on in a confined space. Now, in the event of fire, you are the immediate responder to extinguish the fire immediately. And also you can turn on the fire alarm. You are the one can call even 911 or the emergency alarm number. Otherwise, if you are inside, you communicate with standby man. And here, the importance of standby man we can also highlight, because he has no other duties except to support as a standby man to all of us. And number 6, you have authority to stop operations if you find any hazardous condition. So that means you have responsibilities plus authorities. I repeat again, you have responsibility plus authority. Now the one element is important. The third one is the resources, the required resources. If these 3 things you got from your company, from Sendan, then you are accountable. You can't give any excuse, oh, something terribly happened, none of my fault. No, it's not your fault, but still someone is responsible for sure. So it is clearly mentioned that you are responsible as a fire watcher. So make sure, because since you have authority to stop operations, whenever you think the condition is unsafe or there is a chances of fire, stop the operation and move on with your actions, But here you required some communication with your supervisor. You need that authentic authority from your management instead of just paperwork. And then, of course, you will be acting accordingly, inshallah. Yes, there would be fire wardens also to support you, but primary responsibility of the fire wardens, they'll evacuate the employees or the persons in case of fire, because they are the one, making sure that no one is left behind. and even the head count or attendance in the muster point or assembly area is done, and no one is missed actually in the attendance sheet. Otherwise, they will consider we need some rescue response teams to act on it if someone is still left behind. Same like other companies, I'm very much pretty sure that Sandan have a strong fire safety committee, and they would have got involved to security, telephone operators, firefighting team, fire wardens, and of course, the most important one, the fire watchers as well, especially for the hot works. And based on that, you'll be supporting to employees, contractors, and visitors, because we don't want to see any property damage or human loss, because one terrible incident is all over. As I told you, if brand's goodwill diminishing in the market, no more projects. Imagine if a company is there and their fire incident ratio is going up and up every month they have more and more fire incidents. So a time will come, no brand, no customer would be awarding them even a single project. So that means this kind of fire safety systems, they are our business continuity requirement, kind of business operational requirement, and also is the need to maintain our goodwill and to keep continue our business as well. Now, I always mention, prevention is better than cure. Instead of waiting for the fire incidents, much better to be preventive. Much better to reduce the probability or the chances of fire incidents proactively. Like, if you have combustible materials, why don't you deal them proactively and keep them away from hot work? And that would be your preventive action, or prevention, which will help you to avoid any fire incident. Same way, electrical problems, try hard, don't accept any overloaded circuits or outlets or any damaged wiring or defective switches and damaged plugs, Heat and ignition sources, any sort of source of heat or ignition, such as a spark, can lead to a fire when combined with combustible flammable materials. So this is another challenge. We have to reduce the numbers of ignition sources. Same with the machinery, inadequately lubricated or the poor maintenance actually, or the no maintenance of machine. Of course, because of the friction or the defects, mechanical defects, more chances of fire will be there. And the last is the smoking. Employees may ignore the rules and sneak the smoke in restrooms or some low traffic hideaway. So we have the same challenge. How are we going to keep them away? Oxygen, heat, and fuel. So we can avoid any chemical reaction. So for this one, the best way is someone from safety department, or in coordination with fire watchers or fire wardens, or even I would say in coordination with the department heads of other areas, they must complete a fire risk assessment. And this is kind of a proactive approach, to reduce the possibility or the probability of fire incidents. And if we want to do fire risk assessment, the best idea is collect the information, gather the information, how many ACs we have, how many switches are there, how many extension boards are there, how many electrical appliances, other one we have, how many panel boards are there, what kind of wires inside, especially the wall or underground, are used from our company side. Get maximum information. How many fire incidents have happened for the last 5-10 years? And what lessons we have learned so far? And then accordingly, have a visit proactively, just like a joint set inspection and fire hazard identification. In advance, you need to identify the fire hazards, and then do some fire risk evaluation, and periodically you can implement and periodically can have some review. Like, after evaluation, you can put some control, but make sure the implementation and periodic review is also there. So 5 steps. One is gathering information, then hazard identification. Third one is risk evaluation. Fourth one is fire risk control. And fifth one is implementation and periodic review. And why we need fire risk assessment? We need to find how many red areas are there, how many yellow or green areas, or major or moderate minor. So this job must be done effectively from your safety department in coordination with each other responsible persons, of each department or each function of your business. Even though as a fire watcher, you are not responsible to complete any sort of risk assessment, but yes, no harm to coordinate since you are a fire watcher. So you can report back proactively that something can go wrong if these chemicals will not be removed. How fire incident can happen because poor housekeeping is there, which is not acceptable. So you can put your suggestions for sure. And the reason behind is to reduce the likelihood at negligible injuries, or to bringing everything at the low or the green color is quite challenging. But most important is wherever we believe the red areas are highlighted as per our risk assessment and fatalities can happen, immediately sometime we need to stop the project also. Let me give you one example. If your confined space suddenly have some H2S, which is extremely flammable, and since it's extremely flammable and also explosive gas, so you need to stop because you need LEL, lower explosive limit, at 0% all the time. So whenever you believe any issue is there which is coming in red area, you can stop that project and activity to avoid from any sort of fire incident. And any hazard, any risk, anything want to improve or fighting against the hazards, these are the 5 steps we have to bear in our mind. Either we need to eliminate or substitute. Like if you are using water-based paint, solvent-based paint, you can suggest why don't we use water-based paint which is available in the market, or you can go for engineering controls or administrative or PPs as a last solution. So elimination, substitution, engineering control, administrative control, personal protective equipment. Again, all are not your responsibilities, but as a team, you are of course part of, as a supporter actually, your safety leadership also. And this kind of system must be part of our fire safety system, especially in the buildings. In all your residential compounds, no harm to have smoke detectors, break glasses, main sub-alarm. Now, battery operated, smoke detectors or heat detectors are not acceptable to Saudi Aramco. Now, this battery is addressable system, which they recommended, and even all their inspections are based on that. So they are not accepting battery operated anymore. To make sure you have exit staircase, fire door, sprinkler, corridor lobby, staircase, escape route, hose reel, and extinguisher. And all these things must be maintained and verified, inspected by the third party, even by the internal safety inspectors also. Every day, there must be some safety inspections. So they can go in each area and make sure that everything is active, nothing will go wrong, especially in case of emergency. Yes, we required a fire safety escape plan. We call it evacuation map plan also, and there must be some evacuation drill. And someone should note down that if Sandan have 500 employees, within how many minutes everyone came into the muster point or assembly area. And then see, either you can claim this is the drill is successful, or you need more practice, more evacuation drills. But that plan should be there. Like this is kind of emergency procedure, or you can say the evacuation map also. Everything must be clear. How many assembly areas you have, where is the fire extinguisher, how many fire exit doors are there. No harm to share the symbols. And instead of words, much better is the pictures, the pictorial images. Because either you are educated or uneducated, everybody can understand the value of symbols or even the colors like red, yellow, and green. Everybody understands. So make sure this kind of fire detection system is also there. Fire alarm, breaking glass, like we discussed already. Exit staircase, fire door, corridor, lobby staircase, escape route, especially for the buildings, especially in your offices or residential compounds. And make sure you have emergency escape route as well. Another example of firefighting equipments. And you know, for all these equipments, the real value we understand the moment we have, God forbid, any fire incident. Then we truly realize how much they are important, like your sprinkler system, your fire hydrant system, your fire extinguisher, even the water spray system or the water monitor or the sand bucket or hose reel or even fire blanket. So just a reminder again, this ABC powder can be used for ABC, that means multi-purpose. Okay. So this ABC powder can be used for wood, paper, flammable liquid, gases, as well as live electrical equipment. So you will see mostly this one in different companies, you know, in different locations even. Now take another example, how to understand the fire extinguisher itself. This discharge lever, make sure this gauge is also you understand, because the needle we required all the time in green zone, green area. That means if it is not in green, it's not reliable. We have to send for refilling. And make sure the discharge hose is also there. The data plate, you can find plenty of information from that data plate. And discharge nozzle and discharge orifice. And what is most important is discharge locking pin and seal actually. Because if that pin is not there, again, it's a clear indicator this extinguisher is already used. Okay. And still again, remember the pass procedure. Pull the pin, aim the extinguisher, squeeze the handle and sweep it slowly back and forth. And remember this one also, we discussed already. Now, thank you very much, guys. Now I'm going to share one small competition just to refresh your understanding. Then we'll watch and we'll go for standby man, inshallah. Just give me.